feel like sometimes YouTube is super delayed. Not great. Not great. Okay. Okay, best. Larry? Dogecoin! Dogecoin to the moon. Might watch that as a warm up.
What the F is going on? Jobless claims came in at the lowest level we've seen during the entire pandemic last week. 10-year treasuries are pretty stable around a 1.6. Inflation protected securities, or treasuries called TIPS, which usually give some indications of big inflation expectations, aren't really pricing in big inflation expectations. It's almost kind of like the bond market is starting to listen to Jerome Powell when he goes, "We ain't raising rates anytime soon."
Mm.
And all of a sudden we get this flood of really good economic data. In fact, the United States might be on course to grow faster and end up being bigger than had we not had the pandemic, which is crazy because if you think about it, like we think, oh, we're on this course of growth as a country. Oh, COVID comes, we dip, and then we V back up to where we were. We are on track to actually Ving back above that trajectory we were on before, thanks to all the stimulus. At least that's what the IMF and the World Bank see, according to the Financial Times. Folks, all the news coming in right now is pretty much good, like really, really good. Yet you look at stocks and you're like, yeah, I ain't seeing it in certain sectors. Tech, high multiple, SPACs, man. Woo! Not seeing the happiness, not seeing the goodness, which is really kind of a weird twist because don't you remember last year when we had those memes of the child on the swing, and the child on the swing was the stock market, and the big fire in the background, the building on fire, was the economy? It's almost kind of like in some sectors of the stock market, that's reversed right now. It's like the fire is high multiple stock or any high multiple stock, and the kid on the swing is the economy. Because things overall, data wise, look like they're booming. Housing's booming to the point people believe we're in a massive bubble. Index funds like the S&P 500 and the Dow are overall booming. Bonds aren't doing terribly. Again, economic data is coming in crazy to the point where we're going to be larger than where we were before the pandemic and growing at a faster rate thanks to all the stimulus. And we still got a ton of freaking pain in different parts of this market, and it really sucks. And the question is, why? Why is it happening? Well, we have a new reason today, and we're going to combine it with some of the other reasons, and this hopefully gives us a clear picture of what's actually going on. Have we just made stupid decisions? Are we idiots for having bought the stocks we did, and then now we're heavy bag holders, and my arms are getting tired because I reference how my stocks are upside down every day? Sorry, that's a reference to like the comments, because in the comments it seems like everybody lately has been talking about how many bags they're holding, and it's really bad for your psychology. Stop looking. But anyway, let's try to understand what's causing this. So first things first, and the first thing here is actually a new piece. Today, we heard an interview that gave us a little bit of extra light, and it's entirely possible that hedge funds are putting the squeeze on some of our favorite high value names because expectations are so lofty that this economy is going to boom so hard, and that quarter one earnings are going to come in so strong, and that quarter two earnings are going to come in so strong, that hedge funds that might have large positions in companies like, maybe because there is a large institutional ownership in companies like CCIV or companies like Tesla, Apple, Amazon, whatever, maybe some of these companies are starting to sell off a little bit, mostly more like the NEOs, the CCIVs, the SPACs, the Teslas, the energy stocks, the charger stocks, the Enphase, right, the higher multiple ones, the Etsy's, the Pinterest, these. Anyway, why are we starting to see a sell-off in these? Because when you have a higher multiple stock and expectations for that stock are very high, so you've got high earnings expectations and it's already trading at a high multiple. Well, when something's trading at a high multiple, it swings generally more to the downside than it does to the upside. So if those high earnings expectations miss even slightly, we could see a big swing to the downside on higher multiple stocks because they're built up on more of what I call hopium. That's juicing up the stock valuation on some of these. Now, if the companies hit, that's great. We win, the stocks go back up, hopefully well and substantially, that'd be nice. And we go back to kind of the market that we were used to in maybe November, December, January, where we don't just have 2 months of pretty much straight down into the gutter. But the problem is, because these expectations are so high on the high multiple stocks, and they are high multiple stocks, so by virtue, they have more room to go down, hedge funds who are invested in these stocks are realizing it probably be prudent to short these stocks as a way to hedge their portfolio. And this totally makes sense. So, just as an example, if you have $100 million as a hedge fund in Tesla, you don't want to lose clients when Tesla goes down. Because if you're a hedge fund and you start getting phone calls like, I heard there was a crash with autopilot in Texas. What is going on? I want to know about what the heck is happening in Texas. You know what? I want my money out. I can't believe you're investing in Tesla. I want my money out. You want to be able to, as any good hedge fund does, respond and go, you're so right. In fact, we were worried that something just like this can happen. So we have $50 million in shorts that we've actually leveraged up 2-to-1. So we basically protected the entire portfolio with shorts. Don't worry, we're good. We're shorting the snot out of Tesla. And you might think we were losing money today, but oh, no, no, no. You should see the tendies we just baked on them Tesla shorts. They're so good. At the same time, though, while hedge funds are playing keep the clients in the volatile time, the rest of the market has what? Less buyers of stocks like Tesla or higher multiple stocks because the hedgies aren't taking new money to buy shares. They're taking new money to short the shares, which is bad. But then when you take new money to short shares, you're actually creating more selling pressure. So you're removing buyers and you're shorting. It's literally like a double whammy of what the hedge funds are doing because they're worried that maybe earnings are gonna miss. You know, your hedge fund weenie babies gotta be prepared for maybe a miss because they don't want to lose a bunch of clients. They can't diamond hand because their clients are gonna paper hand them. It's kind of what's happening. So that right there could be a very, very, very big reason we are in this sort of doldrum in many sectors in the stock market. And to me, I actually like hearing that because if these companies crush it with their earnings over the next year, ideally 3 quarters, I've got a longer run mindset for my stocks, obviously, in general, 10 years plus, but realistically, I'm not expecting to see some of the highs that we've seen for at least 3 quarters. It's just what I'm building in. I'm thinking like maybe it'd be a Christmas gift. We'll see. That's just an expectation that I have, that we'll see new highs coming towards, September, October, and beyond. So we're going to be going through a little bit of a ride here. But it's going to take a while to squeeze these hedgies out again and make them close their shorts. And it's going to take a lot of validation to prove that we should be at the valuations that we are. Because hedgies are really short-term thinkers. Weenie babies. Remember that, okay? They're really emotional about the short term. So, number one, this is a big thing, okay? If hedgies are doing this, folks, hedgies got lots of money. Speaking of lots of money, the NFT that's available for sale to buy the dip song, which you can see by going to metkevin.com. I'm sorry, actually, it's rarible.com/realmeatkevin. That does expire tomorrow, so check that out. But it's being accelerated. Remember in previous videos that
my goal when I talk to I don't know if I would call it
very left-wing socialist busy have named Xander Hall. It's quick recap of a 2-hour debate I just finished with a bread tuber named Xander Hall. It should be linked down below in the description. I honestly can't say I knew much about BreadTube until recently, as their rise on YouTube really came about when I was off busy having a baby. But if you don't know about them, essentially they are a very left-wing socialist sphere of YouTube. I had absolutely no intentions of debating this group, but I found it fairly entertaining when a BreadTuber reached out and challenged me to a debate immediately after I announced the release of my new children's book, The ABCs of Morality, especially considering he challenged me to a debate on the book when he couldn't have possibly read it yet or even known what was in it.
Oh, no.
Considering I know Amazon's pretty good, but it takes more than a few minutes for a shipment to get to you.
I've seen it a million times.
This was the one point everyone on Twitter or wherever said he...
It's like such. This is like this is like such an anime. You got like the protagonist or whatever is like, well, you weren't ready for my trans study, and then like the antagonist is like, is that the NCBI ninjutsu? I've seen that move used against me a million times. No serious ninjutsu person takes that move seriously anymore. It's been defeated for years. It's like it feels like such an anime moment. Hits vape.
Like, comment, write some dumb shit below.
But it turns out he was referencing the wrong study. Watching the Xander Hall-Lauren Southern debate, and I'm very confused.
Oh no, Mal the Infidel is the one that gets quoted by...
Did Xander Hall confuse the Swedish transitioning study with the ROGD study? Yeah, they were talking about transitioning, and Lauren cited the Swedish study, and Xander Hall responded by giving the critique of the ROGD study, which isn't even about transitioning.
Hey, what's up?
Did you want to chat?
I want to give you my thoughts going into that debate and why I went about it the way that I did, and see if you think I succeeded in the way that I wanted to go about it, or if I didn't. And that's what I'm really curious about, because I did a pretty significant amount of research going into that debate about Lauren Southern, and I didn't want to just go in like, okay, here's every bad thing you've ever done. We're going to go over it, and you're going to be held accountable for it, because that would be not a good idea. We're debating about a kid's book that she wrote. Like, there's not really much you can do about that other than be like, okay, so here's what you wrote. What did you mean by this? And then try to debate about whatever that runs into.
Mm-hmm.
So are you familiar with what Lauren Southern's recent optics goal has been?
I know that I think a year ago she posted something wanting to be more moderate.
I also don't see the possibility for growth when I'm constricted by the expectations of an online right-wing tribe, that I hold certain beliefs or I'm not a part of them anymore. Because I also have questions and criticisms within the right as well. There are some issues there. If anything, I'd say I've taken the real life pill. I think people are multidimensional, complex beings, and they are worthy of trying to understand. You can't sum them up in a tweet you found 6 years ago, and you can't sum them up as a race or a gender, which too often polarizing political internet communities try to do.
Or that she'd kind of broke, it might have been 2 years ago, she broke off from the more extreme things, but then looking recently, it seems like she still kind of follows some of the more extreme stuff, so I don't know. But what about it? She probably wants to be seen as more moderate. It's probably better than being an immigrant killing, boat riding person violating foreign laws in other countries.
Yep. Yeah, you're completely right. She's sort of rebranding to be a moderate, center right, but a rational, reasonable thinker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like going in and just being okay, so why do you believe this and this and this? Oh, you're a Nazi, yada, yada, yada. That would be a horrible idea, optically speaking.
To be fair, if I can be a little bit charitable, hold on, wait, are you streaming on Twitch?
Twitch and YouTube, yeah.
Oh, okay, just to be a little bit charitable, it's also possible that her views have moderated a tad as well. That is possible too, that there is some legitimate change in belief over time there. If you guys are all because you guys all fucking simp so fucking hard over that shoe on head dipshit. If you guys are all gonna simp over her, then I can be a little bit charitable and say it's possible that Lauren has moderated a bit on her views over time, even if she is still a Western values, white values kind of person.
Yeah, like you said before, or a long time ago, you can't know what somebody's thinking. You have to kind of look at what they say. And lately, it doesn't seem like she's advocated for the great replacement or white genocide stuff. So that would make me look even worse if I went in being you're a Nazi. Look at this shit that you did back in 2016, 2017. This documentary you made 3 years ago, where you went to this country and you did this. It would look really, really bad. My main goal, I guess, was to come off as a not crazy triggered SJW to a lot of the conservatives in our audience. And to be fair, I've gotten quite a few messages from her fans saying, hey, I thought all liberals and lefties and people on the left were crazy and triggered and yada yada, and you were really reasonable. And I've gotten quite a few subscribers from her fan base because of that. So I feel like, while I definitely could have done better in that ballpark, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in that respect. I guess, and you probably agree with this, obviously I got a few facts wrong, which is unfortunate because you can't see exactly where a debate about a kid's book is going to fractal off to. But when it came to the issue of like which issue do you think I did the best at, and which do you think I did the worst at when it came to like an argument over a topic?
So it's going to be hard to like do like best and worst because I think I disagree. I think the biggest problem was the framing of the conversation. Like it is entirely possible that like a conservative person could put together like a children's book and it not be like a horrible thing. I think is like I think like framing this conversation as a discussion about the book and then trying to use that as like an opportunity to talk about like her past wrongs. I think that's kind of rhetorically a mistake because I think it's going to make it look like and feel like an ambush. And there were even multiple points in the conversation like, okay, I want to get back to talking about the book or whatever.
Yeah, that was one of the worst things because the debate was about the book. Like that was the thing that started the whole Twitter argument that led into the debate. But like, what is there really to debate about the book? The book on its own in a vacuum isn't that big a deal. It just kind of primes. It's meant to prime kids for like conservative values, right?
Well, but that's her whole point, right? The book in a vacuum isn't really a problem.
Yeah, but then there's not really much debate about then.
That was her whole point. That's why she took this debate, right? Because you basically came out before her book was even released saying like, oh, I bet this book is going to be horrible. Let's debate about it. And it's like, well, how? How could you even know that? That's her entire argument, right?
Yeah, the book was out, and I read it before the debate. I don't know why, but a lot of people keep saying I didn't read the book. I read it multiple times.
Well, it was that you hadn't read the book before issuing the challenge, is my understanding.
Oh yeah, yeah. So like the way she advertised it was like to combat the woke lefty narrative or whatever on Twitter, and that's what kind of the original. What actually ended up happening was I just like quote tweeted the tweet about the book and was like, hey, I'm going to cover this on stream. Does anyone have a few pages of it that I can cover? And then she quote tweeted me and said, oh, here are a few, and I said, all right, I'll buy the book if you agree to come on stream and talk about it with me. And she said, okay, cool. Followed me on Twitter, started talking in DMs. I bought the book, I read it, and then that's how we ended up having this conversation. But yeah, I feel like her having that constant get out of jail free card with like the book, being able to say, oh, well, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the book. I feel like that was constantly like a hindrance of my ability to debate her.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, like this whole thing, like you set yourself up at the beginning. Even if the intentions were a little bit more nuanced than just like, I hate your book, now let's argue about it, but I haven't read yet. I think the framing of it came off that way, and even the initial conversation, like when you guys started talking, it's going to be about the book. It just feels like you set yourself up like in an impossible, like you're impossible how to let it start. Because the technical conversation is about the book, right?
So do you think like my first big mistake was like the entire concept of what we were debating?
Yeah, I think that was just like a huge mistake, right? Like I don't like JF, and I'll argue JF on almost any part of his moral philosophy, but like I would never say like JF, everything you do is so stupid. Like I'm gonna argue over something published before. I think it's probably done, and then I read it and I like I don't know if that's true. Like I think he's a PhD. If he is, and he's published something. So like but I don't know if.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. I want to go in with something like in the future with debates. I want to go in with like, this is the topic we're discussing. This is the thing that I can research. This is something I can just bury my face in for the next 3 days and learn everything about, and then we can debate about that. So I definitely agree. Like the entire premise was probably like immediately she already had a leg up on me on that one. I guess I wrote some notes before the debate, and like my 4 main objectives going into it were, hold on, let me read them off. Do not platform Lauren in a way that makes her harmful ideas more palatable to your audience, but make yourself palatable to her audience. Do you think like my audience was like swayed towards Lauren Southern?
I think she looks fairly reasonable. I mean, your audience as a breadtuber are probably going to be majority like deranged socialists that are never going to be persuaded by anything because their friends don't believe in things, but they're probably insane. But like, in terms of like the center, I think that it made Lauren look very reasonable. I think we have to be really careful as, I think that a lot of care must be taken when it comes to defending some of the more extremist rhetoric on the left, because to average Americans or to average humans, it's just not going to be defensible. Like, people going on Twitter and doing this shit where they talk about how like there's a fucking revolution and peace isn't going to be an option and blah 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 blah. Like, I don't think it's very hard to attack or condemn Trump for his rhetoric and then you just come out and be chill with that kind of stuff. Like, to an average person, it's just always going to make you look insane, I think. And I think that she had the upper hand there where, like, we'll quote stuff that Kaepernick has said and then condemn Trump, who's in a vacuum. What Trump is saying isn't quite as bad. Now, in totality, it's pretty obvious what Trump is doing. But, like, I think you just have to, I say bite the bullet, but I don't think it's that big a bullet to bite. You just have to be like, yeah, I think that violent rhetoric probably shouldn't exist on Twitter. Even BLM people doing it or something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. With the Kaepernick quote and the BLM riots, I feel like I definitely should have just said, nope, I don't support those either. The reason Colin Kaepernick probably didn't get banned is because he didn't say that on Twitter and he didn't have the millions of eyes on him that the president has, right? That was
although that's again not good, because I mean, Kaepernick's pretty popular, right? Like, yeah, like if Kaepernick was like a random person, we can't be like, oh, well, he's not the president. Like, sure, but he's like an internationally known athlete.
Okay, so I don't know if that could have been a good way to, it would have been a better way to go about it. Would have been saying, well, okay, well, the reason Trump got banned was because Kaepernick probably didn't have as many eyes on him, but at the same time, she could have been like, oh, he's a big athlete, ex-football player. Yeah, I don't know. I think that in the future, just like biting the bullet on that one is probably the best thing to do. Just be like, okay, yeah, riot's bad. And that would have worked. You did say that? No, I don't think I said that. Balance tone in a way that won't scare off her audience. Like, don't go at her like crazy. And I feel like I kept my composure pretty well.
Okay, kind of. So I'm getting irritated by this because I think that I conduct myself generally in conversations in a pretty respectful way, but I see a lot of people do things that I would qualify as like debate bro things. And for some reason, people accuse me of doing this. I don't think I do this much, but I see it happen a lot. There are a couple things that I see. I'm being pretty harsh or pretty critical here, but I see a lot of people do it. Not just you, Vosh. There's a ton of people do this. I think you have to be really careful with a couple of traps. One, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Xander, but calling somebody by their name in the middle of a conversation is a very condescending thing to do. And I think that most people will get that, Xander. Like, very immediately will pick up on that.
Yeah.
I would be really careful for stuff like that because it makes you come off like, now, if the other person is being a piece of shit and another person is like going hard on you, I believe in matching tone. So if somebody wants to be a piece of shit to me, I'll roll around in the dirt because I think it's fun. But if the other person's being relatively respectful and you start laying in with like this is a logical fallacy or like the studies don't show this, blah, 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 like that's stuff that is at the bottom, I think. So for instance, in the trans conversation, I think it's good to engage them on the material and engage them on the, I'll say the philosophical levels, like the ideas back and forth. Don't appeal to the studies until you've hit some like fundamental rock bottom where you just disagree over the numbers. Because I think that you can find common ground and win rhetorically on higher levels rather than somebody saying, well, this is my opinion on this, and then you just going, well, all the studies disagree with you. I think that as soon as you say that, I think that it comes across as kind of like a debate tactic, or when you start calling out people for like gish galloping, or when you start using philosophy terms like consequentialism, like when you start saying stuff like this, I think it comes off as very debate bro-y. When Lauren Southern, for whatever faults she has rhetorically, comes off as like a very like polite, like trying to engage in honest conversation, like I don't want to say like naive person or whatever, but she comes off as being like very well-mannered, very good faith, very trying to like understand both sides and is willing to make concessions seemingly when it seems like she has lost a point. So I think I would be very careful in trying to come off as like overly aggressive there.
Okay, yeah, because I felt like I wasn't aggressive enough. Like I let her talk too much at times, and I was too polite at some points. I didn't think about like the saying her name thing during a conversation. I didn't consider that being like rude. But in hindsight, no, that does make sense. Do you think I should have interrupted her more?
It's not a matter of, no, I don't think you should have interrupted her more. I think that like, so my goal when I talk to like, I don't know if for like conservatives or for anybody who's good, I think the goal is to like find common ground and then steer them towards your prescription. I think one of the big problems a lot of leftists or progressives or whatever are having these days is they're just not willing, they're not willing to acknowledge what everyone feels is being obviously true. I think that it's better to just acknowledge what is obviously true and then move towards what you believe you should be doing, in the future. So, like, for instance, I don't remember this exactly, but like the subject on cancel culture. Cancel culture is cancer culture. We need to stop. This shit is just fucking so beyond fucking cringe. 99% of people in the center and everyone on the right sees it as fucking cringe. Don't ever die on that hill. When somebody starts talking about like, oh, like cancel, be like, yeah, cancel culture sucks. Like, yeah, it's definitely gone overboard in some cases. And then boom, move off that topic. Because if you get bogged down trying to deny its existence, everybody in the middle like looks at you like, what the fuck? This guy is like such an ideologue. Like, of course this shit is horrible, right? I would just say acknowledge shit that are like bad, and then move on to like your prescription. Like move on to where you go from there. I'm trying to think, during the trans conversation, there were so many directions. I don't know how familiar people are with those topics, but some of the things that came out were just really bad here. The argument that you tried to make about how, like, well, there's a lot of people that regret doing like chemotherapy and radiation, I don't think was a strong point rhetorically. I think that most people don't want to have cancer and are willing to suffer a great deal to get rid of cancer. It's probably not the best. Probably not the best argument to go down. I think that like hating on SSRIs could be really good there, right? I think that SSRIs and a lot of the HRT stuff can be pretty comparable. People have gender dysphoria. We could put them on puberty blockers at a young age. There are negative side effects to that. We must acknowledge that. There are side effects, or negative side effects. However, the goal when you prescribe any medication is that hopefully the positives will outweigh any potential negative side effects. The same is true of SSRIs. When you put somebody on an SSRI, they could become more suicidal, they could have other problems. There's issues related to libido, weight gain, hormone, blah, 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 blah. But we hope the pros outweigh the cons. I think that going with the comparison there to like SSRIs was way better than
Yeah, I thought at the time at least, and my thoughts with the cancer comparison was because I felt like a lot of people, especially in the audience, have probably had like a loved one who's died from cancer, has had to fight cancer. And at least in my experience and the experience of a lot of people I know, there's a shit ton of regret when it comes to getting treatment for cancer, because chemo and radiation, that shit sucks.
I don't know what that means. I think that most people would rather suffer the chemo radiation than die of cancer. No?
I guess it depends on maybe this is my bias, my experience. Like my whole family had to like convince my grandma to get like chemo and to actually get treatment for it. She just wanted to be like, okay, this is how long I have left. I think the quote was she wanted to die with a fishing pole in her hand, and I imagine that like a lot of people have had that experience. But honestly, if you think that was probably the best way to go,
that might be the case. So I think that it's very, very important to try to distinguish who we're talking about. If you're talking about like an 80-year-old person that's already on kind of like, I don't want to say Death Star, but like they're old, blah, 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 and then they get like a cancer and it's like a 20% survival rate, and it's like, okay, sure, like this person might not want to do chemo radiation. That's fine, okay? Now, everybody has their own personal biases here. But if you don't acknowledge that, you could end up sounding really bad to some people. So my kid's mom had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she absolutely wanted to do chemo and radiation because she was like fucking 25 years old. She doesn't want to die to fucking cancer when she's in her 20s. So like for anybody that had like a cancer experience, or people that were under the age of like 50 or 60, when they hear something like that, it's like, wait, hold on, what? Some people regret, chemo, and I'm sure that there are people that are younger that, died fighting all the way to the end that didn't necessarily regret their chemotherapy. John Total Biscuit comes to mind. For somebody that had, I think it was rectal cancer, and he ended up dying at the end. But I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't remember him ever saying like, oh, I should have never done chemo. I should have just died earlier, I would navigate those waters carefully, or be more clear exactly about what you're talking about.
Yeah, feels Batman 7, of course. I definitely agree. I think that's like a very niche example that I don't know if it appeals to as many people as I thought it did at the time. I think the SSRI one is probably a bit more broad because don't like a significant amount of people deal with mental health issues.
Yeah, not only that, but it's also something that we tend to prescribe to children. It's also something that like children don't like. You can argue, like, does a child know their gender, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, well, does a child know if they're depressed, blah, blah, blah. We still prescribe them SSRIs, right? Do you think we should stop all forms of, like, anti-SSRI? Now, they might bite the bullet on that. They might say, yeah, we shouldn't prescribe any SSRIs to anybody. I think that depending on how the conversation goes, that kind of makes them look bad. Like, should you not be allowed to prescribe any type of, like, ADHD medication, anything like that? Like, I think that you can make them bite the bullet on that and then move on. I think still looks okay for your side. Also, it, like... Conservatives like to draw this differentiation between male and female so much. hardcore harp on this. I don't know if it's me, but I feel like I've heard this study thrown out a million times by anti-trans people, or by like gender realist people, when they're like, you know that babies, when they're only 2 or 3 months old, did you know that babies, male and female babies, play with different types of toys? Males play with puzzle toys and females play with. That is actually something that's been studied quite a bit. Jordan Peterson works out. It's true. You know, male babies and female babies do play in different ways with different types of toys. You know, if you have evidence that babies do this, then who are you to say that somebody who's 14 doesn't know anything about their fucking gender? Like, what a weird fucking thing to say. I think it's good to bring up stuff like that. For some reason, conservatives like to treat children, I say children, adolescent people, like they're just totally dumb fucks about everything in their life. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's good to be able to bring up stuff like that. That's just knowing it at the time, I think.
Yeah, I think the example that I always brought up is like most people, I feel like when they were in elementary school probably had like their first crush and probably were able to figure out what their sexuality was. Because if you're little Timmy and you have a crush on little Sally, good chances are that you're straight. Not always, but at that point, like you can be 10 years old and have your first crush. And I feel like I've drawn that comparison a lot when it comes to gender identity.
Yeah, it could be over like gay stuff too. It might be that like, would you say that like somebody who's 14 like doesn't know if they're gay? Would you say that somebody who's like 15, 16 should be forced to date the opposite gender until they're 18 and can make a decision? Like we wouldn't say stuff like this. It would be ridiculous. Thankfully, like the gay issues and everything have come far enough that even conservatives won't be like they were in the 90s about this stuff, or 80s maybe. I don't know how far back it would go, but especially over the past like 10 or 20 years, I don't think you're gonna find very many conservative people that say, oh yeah, gay conversion therapy is a pretty cringe position, even among conservatives these days. So.
Okay, all right, yeah, I agree. I think that pushing like because no conservative, like you said, is going to go against the gay people. It's just that issue is
not on that level.
so much acceptance for gay people in the country at this point, and even like most Western countries, right? That biting that bullet for a conservative is a really bad look. So drawing a comparison there can be pretty good. I guess my final one, and I know I failed this one. Do not let Lauren slide away from the topics. That one I feel like I completely failed at.
Yeah, kind of. But again, this was hard because the topics were technically supposed to be about her book. So like, a lot of people might, I guess like maybe in a left-leaning audience, people might feel like she was the one that was pivoting. But I'm sure from her point of view and for a lot of other people, it might have felt like the conversation was already like kind of, because like she came there to talk about like her kid's book, and then all of a sudden it ended up being a conversation about, like like all of her political views and everything, right? It ended up being way different than probably she maybe thought it was going to be. Maybe she knew going in, but so it's hard to say like where the pivot, like are people really going to see her as pivoting if she's like saying that like, hey, like I would rather just focus on my book? Like maybe to somebody like in a left-leaning audience that might feel like a pivot, but I'm pretty sure her probably feel like
Yeah, I guess this doesn't really matter so much for the audience because the audience doesn't know what was discussed before the debate happened in DMs. But like our agreement for this discussion was like we would start off with the book and then we would move into like the topics that would sort of fractal off from it. And that's what I expected going in. I assume if she's good faith, that's what she expected as well. And it definitely felt like I let her get away with that too much. I feel like.
But when we say like fractal going off from it, it sounds like. I don't think that means that we take like an article on groupthink and then make that about like BLM. I don't think that that's the type of fractaling that she was probably thinking of. It probably just more had to do in general with like the type of book.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Okay. That makes sense to me. Even if that was what she thought it was going to be, it wouldn't matter because the audience didn't know that. And
that's what I felt like at the beginning. I thought it was literally just a conversation about the book.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I want to go over this one really quick because I hear so many people talking about it. I feel like they overblow it a little bit. I wasn't initially going to do this because I thought it maybe made Blair, or not, I don't know why I said Blair. I thought it maybe made Lauren look a little bit too like palatable to my audience or to any like progressives watching, but the trans rights thing, asking her to say trans rights. And I was like, but my chat was like saying, get her to say trans rights. I was like, okay, whatever. Okay. Lauren, say trans rights. And she was like, okay, yeah, trans rights. Can you say white rights? And I was like, I love white people. And then I said like white rights because I figured like, if I think
people will meme it. People will meme it because you're saying white rights to somebody that was arguably, at least at one point, a white nationalist, which was probably not good. Like, I don't think it was that big a deal. But I don't care. But I also think it's super cringe when people do like the trans rights thing. I think it's cringe when any of that shit. So I don't think it was that big a deal. People are probably going to meme it really hard on you for a while though, or maybe forever. So.
Yeah, it's perfect clippable material, but if we're being honest, there's everyone that doesn't like me will find something to clip to like keep posting on the internet. It never goes away. It's the internet. I guess this is like a final overarching question, then I'll let you get back to the space game. Do you think so? I got into like left-leaning politics watching a lot of your debates, and going into it, I mean, I know from your history that you argued with people constantly. You got into like real blood battles in games, like shit talking each other. You did debates like way back in the day. So I don't think anyone's really seen you before you were competent with debating. For me, I've only been doing this for like, I've done maybe like a few actual debates, and I've only been doing this for 2 years. Is it really just a practice thing? Just keep doing it and you'll get better, or is it something that, like, there's something about your personality at a base level that makes you good at debating?
There's something, you learn this as a music major. I imagine you probably learn this if you pursue any skill. If you pursue any skill at a high level. In high school, you learn a phrase called practice makes perfect, right? And then once you hit college, the first thing people do is they erase that thought from your mind because it's absolutely not true. The actual phrase is supposed to be perfect practice makes perfect. So you have to practice something to get better at it, but the practice needs to be deliberate. Just doing something over and over again will not necessarily make you good at it. You have to be deliberate in terms of, I need to improve on this, I need to change this, I need to do that. So for me, there's 2 parts that helped me get good, I think, at what I do. The first part is that I had a lot of natural practice because you literally lived and died by your ability to shit talk on video games in my day. Okay, I'm 32. I think you're a little younger, right?
I'm 21.
21. Okay. Back in the day, games are way different now. Okay, but back in the day, if you couldn't out shit talk your opponent online, okay, you were trash. You were garbage. Nobody wanted to be your friend. People murdered your family. Okay, you were basically third world citizens. You were nobody. So I've had lots of practice shit talking people on the internet, which like prepares you for like thinking quickly, countering what people are saying, integrating like jokes and shit. Like, it sounds stupid, but I think that practice actually helps a significant degree keep up in a live conversation, because live combos are hard. And if you haven't noticed this yet, even I do this still today, where you'll listen back to a conversation, you'll be like, oh my God, why am I not understanding what they're saying? Like, oh fuck, I'm totally missing this. Or, oh my God, why didn't I respond with that? It would have been so good. Like, it'll happen. It still happens. It's really hard to do things on the spot. Which, by the way, nobody criticizing you will ever acknowledge that or understand that. They think that, like, oh, well, I would have thought of this. It's the ultimate, like, shower coaching, where everybody's, like, shower thoughts, they think they'd be able to do them live on the spot. Nobody can do this shit live on the spot. It's really, really, really fucking difficult. So you have to, like, review your conversations. You have to be deliberate about it. You've got to think that, like, oh, like, blah, 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 like, or I shouldn't say blah, blah, sorry. You have to be like, oh, okay, well, I said this, I could have done this, or rhetorically, I don't think this was good, this could have been, like, you have to make a conscious effort to review your stuff, figure out what worked and didn't work. The 2 things, sorry, real quick. The first thing was that I've done this a lot growing up, even before I started streaming. I was arguing with people. And then the second thing is I used to read, I still do to some extent, I read a lot of other communities' feedback about me to get a feeling for how I did in a conversation. So anytime I would have a big debate with somebody, I'm reading my subreddit and my chat. I'm usually reading their chat, and then I'm usually reading, like, if 4chan threads pop up about me in the politics board, I'll read that. I'll check, like, comments about me in my Kiwi Farms thread, and then I'll check any of, like, the more weird forums, like if I'm posted on the Daily Storm, get, like, an idea of how people are feeling about me, and the other communities as well. And you can pick up, like, different threads based on how you did in the conversation. And that's a really important part too to review.
Okay, yeah, no problem with, like, the thing. By the way, like, the concept that I always like best from you is when you talk about, like, your upbringing and how you got to where you are now. No, that's actually really interesting, because so you played a lot of, like, games like StarCraft, right? You get into these lobbies. League is a big one. You get into these lobbies. It's a constant shit talking match, right? Like, I didn't have internet until I was 10, and then I immediately got into, like, Minecraft. I didn't have that third world going at each other, upbringing, where I was constantly arguing with people. And with, like, my family dynamic, like, my mom did not allow me to ever not be polite. So like, the politeness has been drilled into my brain, and that's something that I feel like I need to get over to a degree, because being afraid to I played Septec, it's good. Being afraid to just get down and dirty with somebody before they've gotten to that point with you, I feel like that kind of holds me back a little bit, or a lot.
Well, like, keep in mind that, like, getting down and dirty that's like a very specific form of argumentation, but you don't ever have to do, like, Peterson doesn't. Ben Zero doesn't scream at people on the internet, or whatever people think about his debate tactics or whatever, or Stephen Powers. You don't have to be that ultra aggressive. In fact, it pains me me to say this, and it's sad to say this, is probably what I excel the most. I would argue that that form of like conversation is largely like gone. I think that was gone at around like 2019. I think everybody realized that they were from them. So I think like now, I think that the goal is when you look at people and how they have conversations these days, I think that like studying Vosh is like so Vosh is never actually, if you watch the way that he does debates, Vosh is rarely listening to what the other person is saying. Almost all of his statements are directed at the audience. Where it's one of those things, it's almost like a fourth wall, where like somebody might be debating Vosh over a topic, but all Vosh is saying is things that he thinks makes him look the best rhetorically in front of the audience, maybe people in the Senate, although sometimes he does better at it than other times. But I think that like that style of conversation is more rhetorically effective and more popular than one, and definitely than ultra combative, or two, even like legitimately engaging with the points of the person you're arguing with. It just depends, I guess, what your goal is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess. I do miss, like, watching those old, really blood sports debates from, like, 2016, 2017, even early 2018.
Mm-hmm.
It is sad that that stuff's gone now, because, God, it would have been, if I was more confident debating, if I was better at it, that shit would have been so fun to be a part of.
Yeah,
but I guess that's gone now, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the problem is pretty simple. Do you remember the Raj Royale on Twitch? Did you ever look at any of this shit?
Yeah, back before Austin show, yeah?
Yeah, the problem is that, like, those types of people just don't make it very long. People get spoiled by people like me, and I think maybe Vosh is like this, but, like, the types of personalities that can continuously fight with people and, like, have fun doing that, this is a very, very rare, very abnormal personality type. Most people don't enjoy that type of like, conflict over and over and over again. These communities generally become incredibly destructive. We saw it happen to the entire Septic community, all the anti-SKWs, when all the infighting began and shit, when people started going against Thunderfoot, Sargon started to get exiled from the community, when people started to leave. We saw it happen in a smaller community with like Tonkasaw and all of the people in that community, JF, Andy Worski, they kind of like fell into disarray and they started infighting. We saw it happen with the Raj Royale on Twitch, which isn't even politics based. Most people just don't want to be involved in something. They want to most people normal people. So yeah, I don't think that that type of content is never going to survive very long.
I guess you are right. Like, you can't just have constant, nonstop. Every conversation you have with somebody is blood. I do like occasionally, whenever I see like he like what was the big mad guy that couldn't stop chanting like a fucking panther and kept talking about your son?
Jack. But yeah, something that's strange is I said you were big mad on Twitter, and then you said you weren't mad. Now right here, you look like you're big mad.
No, I sound like I'm a little bit angry because I'm talking to a shithead.
Okay, well, right now you're breathing heavier than Matthew Bellamy between your statements, okay? So let's take a deep breath.
Well, you're not really a sock them, but anyway, go ahead.
Wait, I'm sorry, what do you think could you just tell me what it means to be a sock? I mean, we can like...
Who gives a shit, you pedantic fucking moron? Who gives a shit, you fucking pedantic idiot?
Not big mad. Let's just look through the entire thing and see what they can... If she asked to see this, do you think the people that are in prison right now deserve to have gone there for weeks? Okay, so I truly don't give a shit. Show it then. Liar.
No. I'm not saying that. I never said that.
Liar,
I'm saying that if you're gonna...
You dumb shit motherfucker. I would love to see the proof, liar. I'm perfectly fine, but I would just love to see if there's evidence that you have it, you liar. You did say that.
What does Zurich have to do with it?
You're a fucking piece of shit, and so are all your fans. Have a good one.
On my white jet section of all my site. Jack Allison, maybe?
Yeah. It doesn't matter what his name is. It's relevant. Like, having the occasional blood debate like that, that's always fun. And I do like that. And I want to be able to do really good faith or calm, on-the-topic debates as well. I also do want to be able to get to the point where I can go all in with, like, the really bloody, violent debates, you know? Is that just something that is that something that... Am I, at this point, as a 21-year-old, too old to, like, learn that shit?
I mean, no, you can. You just have to practice. It's just a matter of practicing it. But like, yeah, I'm a big believer in matching people's energy. If somebody's gonna come at me like real crazy, I'll go crazy back. I'm fine with that. But if somebody's not doing that and you're the one that takes it there first, like you're gonna look really bad, I think.
Well, yeah, you can't just like dive into that on your own. But I guess it's like you have to gauge the debate to figure out like, okay, are they getting to a point where it would be okay to start digging in for blood? I guess.
Do you want practice? The closest you're gonna get to blood sports now is you can try Demon Mama, but I think that that's always going to be really hard because anytime you fight with Demon Mama, you're always going to get called transphobic. So basically, it sucks to say this, but in my opinion, I think trans people are generally off limits for debate on the internet because you're always going to get called transphobic no matter how you engage with them. So I would be like really careful there. But if you want to argue with people that want to talk about like the genocide and the Uyghur stuff for China, that's probably where you're going to find the most passionate debate online now because people are very quick to whataboutism for the United States. And a lot of leftists, even if they aren't tankies, will like simp hard for fucking China and like quickly condemn and make bad comparisons to it. That's probably gonna find like most of the blood sports these days, but I don't think you're gonna get people screaming at you over like social healthcare or something like that. Yeah.
The only person I can think of that does like the really crazy shit is the infrared dude, and that guy's like, I'm pretty sure that dude's trolling. Like besides that, I think like the most well-known.
I mean, I wouldn't. He does troll, but he's. Wait, who is Lanny in your chat?
Lonnie's my girlfriend.
Oh, nice. She's a fucking moron. So, like, she even just did it to me. What I just said was, that is transphobic. Sorry, go ahead. What were we saying? Oh, yeah, the infrared guy. He's like, he's a character. I think that if you catch him being calm, you can be calm, but he's also somebody that will meme and go big into the blood sport. But he plays a character. I don't like to argue like that with characters, because then I feel stupid. Like, I'm being so serious with characters.
Okay. Yep. My girlfriend's off limits, okay? All right.
What the hell is that talking shit about me then? Okay, sorry, guys.
But I can't control her. Wait, I can't control.
Then you can't control me talking shit about her. What the fuck?
I can't listen. I can't control women. I don't have that power. All right.
Then stop protecting them. Treat them like equal people. All right. You say dumb shit.
Yeah, equal rights means equal fights. Okay. No, but seriously though, I think. I guess like the main thing that concerns me is that a lot of people. I guess like the debate sphere, especially in politics, has sort of had the ground laid by, at least on the like the progressive side, has had the ground laid by you and Vosh as well. Even though I started doing YouTube and even politics before Vosh did, and so every time I do a debate or anything that I do, everybody will always compare me to either you or Vosh, and that's something I'm just never going to be able to like get away from. I feel like. Yeah,
unfortunately, it's obvious. It becomes very clear, even people like Demon Mama, when they're kind of like inspired by certain people, because a lot of the mannerisms and stuff are going to be similar. So people are always going to make those comparisons. I mean, there's nothing you can do to escape that.
Yeah, I guess. Is there like any advice that you would give for dealing with that?
Be your own person. I don't know.
Yourself.
Yeah, it's easy for me to say because I don't like to watch anybody else. So everything I do is kind of like I don't ever have to worry about that. But I mean, if I was like a mass consumer of content, I would probably start to take on a lot of the like mannerisms of those people. I don't know how you escape that. I mean, like I kind of do with like friends and shit. Like I'll even like Mr. Moot, and I'll complain that some meme he does is like incredibly fucking stupid, and then I'll find myself like unironically saying it like 3 or 4 days later. But Mr. Moot doesn't do politics. So I imagine if I was listening to any political figure, I would start to copy their mannerisms and shit. It would just happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I copy the mannerisms of non-political figures like more. Like, I don't know. I watch like a fair amount of Summit and Trainwrecks, so that like some of their mannerisms rub off on me. And I guess when you hang out with somebody, like because I'm friends with Vosh, obviously some of his stuff rubs off on me. I watch your content, and you rub off on me all the time. No, but I feel like that's something that you can't really avoid, and all I can really do is argue with people whenever they say that or ignore it. Yeah, that's the reaction I want to see from DGG. Good job, guys. Yeah, I guess that's basically all. Unless there was anything else you want to go over.
Nope. I mean, practice makes perfect. You just got to keep doing it. Good luck.
All right. Final meme. Fuck Mike from PA. I think DGG can appreciate that.
True. Let's find some common ground here. Not just fuck Mike from PA. Fuck all socialists. Amen, brother. Oh, also. One more thing. It's guillotine, please. Guillotine, 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 guillotine. Say it. Wait, say
did
guillotine.
I say guillotine? Did I say that?
Say guillotine rights. Guillotine rights. Yes.
Guillotine rights. I fucked up.
Oh, so you want to guillotine the rights. That's what you're saying. You want to kill conservatives. Good one, Xander Hall. You're banned. See you later.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.
Yeah, in New York. Concrete jungle where dreams are made can do. Now you're in New York.
He recommends.
Hey everybody, good to be back. So today I wanted to do a video that a lot of people have been requesting for a very long time that I've never gotten around to. That is recommending the model MacBooks that I would buy if you need to buy a MacBook. Big if. So let's go over the ones that I would recommend. Once I tell you the models I recommend, which are the 13-inch MacBook Air from 2013 and 14. These are machines with an 820-3437 motherboard. The 13-inch A1502 MacBook Pro Retina. These are machines, the model A1502 with an 820-3536 or 820-3476
Those are solid
motherboard.
machines.
Or A1398 15-inch MacBook Pro Retinas from 2013-14. Avoid the one that is Iris only. Get the one that has a GPU. You may be surprised at my recommendation there. Those are ones with an 820-3787 board. You may be confused at my recommendation there, but I'm going to explain why. If you want to get the cheapest and lightest machine that you can and you don't mind if the screen doesn't look as good as the other models, get the MacBook Air. If you want a machine that has a considerably upgraded screen for a small amount extra that also just happens to be a little bit thicker, then I would get the MacBook Pro Retina. And if you want to do some sort of video editing or you need the quad-core processor and the additional processing power, then I would get the 15-inch one with the graphics chip. There is a considerable difference, in my opinion, in the screen quality between the Airs and the Retinas. Me personally, if I were to buy a MacBook, which I'm not going to do as long as I am still breathing, would be to get the MacBook Pro Retina because it does have a considerably better quality screen. And if I wasn't doing anything crazy with the machine, I'd probably settle on the 13-inch rather than the 15-inch because with the 15-inch, you're lugging around a lot more. There's a additional chance of it dying because, again, it does have a GPU and, of course, Apple. So I would most likely recommend the A1502 2013-14 if I had.
So negative. Hmm. I had to get over there. I'm trying to, but it won't let me. Game's got so many weird bugs that it's hard to know if it is a bug or it's not. There we go. Not clear where to go. Alright, where are ya? God damn it. Stop. God damn it. It's like, it's so cheap. Yeah, motherfucker.
I wonder if some of the vehicles broke formation after the attack. They could be somewhere off the road. I should widen my search. I should scavenge some of that tech Chen asked for.
Yes. Okay.
I bet Chana can do something with this.
Hey, tell me something. What was Jakub like back on Earth? Was he always the bitter asshole who emotionally traumatized my childhood?
He was by far the bitterest asshole I've ever met from day one.
Yeah, I figured.
He was also the most fiercely loyal friend I've ever had.
It's okay, right? That I hate him still, as much as I miss him?
He was what he was. I trusted him with my life. But I knew better than to expect him to be something he wasn't. Or to get back any money I loaned him.
I'd pay you back for my inheritance, but he left me fuck all.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, big boy. So, no play around. Chill there. Oh, here. Yeah, you gotta be kidding me. God damn it. Everything's hitting its mark. Yeah, save that. I really need you.
just the kind of thing Chan is looking for.
Hey, I always wondered, those glasses from Earth Jakob carried around, were they real?
What do you mean? Is AR specs?
When I was a kid, he never stopped talking about how he used to be able to do countless things with them. I figured it was all lies.
Nah, they were real ones. But pretty much as pointless on Earth as they were here.
Oh, come on. Why does everything have to be broken? Oh my god, so annoying. It's like, it's hard to even tell if it's like bugged or not when it does stuff like that. Wait, there's still more to it? Whoops. Oh, I'm just trying out YouTube. Just want to see how it goes since Twitch doesn't seem, well, Amazon doesn't seem to be making the right moves, I would say. So I'm just gonna kind of slowly move to YouTube because it seems like Google's making the right moves with YouTube, or whoever the leadership is at YouTube. I've just seen streamers like slowly kind of talking about moving over that aren't necessarily going to get hurt by moving over, and I don't know. Just wanted to see what it would be like if I did it for like a week or so. See if I got people to stop by, or if I didn't, then I don't know. Just testing things out. Yeah. Thanks for finding me and stopping by. Didn't really have a. That's the other thing about like Twitch is like there's no real way to announce doing that. I don't know. Even if I tweeted it, doesn't try to know if people are gonna stop by and read that. I don't know. All I can say is I just did it. We'll see how it goes. Eh. Yeah, sniper. Need snipers. Alright, where's the sniper? Damn. So many shooting at me. Damn. Too much. Some expert shots there, of course. Top notch. I was like, what's shooting me? Oh, I can't see him. It's impossible. Yeah, let's just. Hey, All right, move forward. Oh, lag. Oh, shit. God damn it. It's like so unfair that they do that to you. Just overwhelm you with force. Are you fighting this?
Should be enough. Let's see what Janet can make of them.
Bring it.
If I tell Corrigan anything about what we've seen, he'd probably call me crazy.
Come on. It doesn't matter what. I've got some tech that seems to be intact still.
What's your preference?
Ooh, Lord Almighty. Pump action shotgun, probably not. Light machine gun, stabling, bolt action. 11.3K. Oh dear. These look cool. Jesus, it looks so cool.
I can shoot this thing into the air all day long, but we won't really know how good it works until you got something that fights back. I'm looking forward to a demonstration of what that nice new gun can do. Professional pride and all. I can almost hear Jakob saying, "I told you so." It'll be a while before I can get used to him not being here. I can still hear him complaining that I'm pulling on this much.
Because she thinks now. They had time for one more.
So many of them trapped in their vehicles.
That's crazy.
Well, this should be interesting. Might as well put my skills to good use.
See y'all later.